the South African description by Praetorian University, the Ubuntu. I am you, you are me. In Africa, we eat from the same plate, and that is what he discovered. And he said one of the things that must be manifest in conquering Africa is to dismantle its leadership and governance, change it completely. And that is why, Madam Chair, Africa, during the conquest, most of our chiefs were murdered, destabilized our social leadership. This was such as an impact of that Berlin conference. It then affected our politics and affected our economies. Finally, Madam Chair, the impact of Berlin conference is that it ushered in an heightened colonial activity and exploitation, leading to social and economic disruption and created dependency on European leadership. I'm not criticizing and I'm not against anything, but I'm describing how we are where we are 140 years ago. As mentioned earlier on, during the presentation of our sister Sharon, I made a speech 2 months ago in Australia. And I looked at the eye, and I said, I want to look at the eye of a European politician in this 20th century. When you came to my continent, I quote part of my speech, you told me I was in a bad shape and that I needed an outfit on how to manage myself, my society, my food, my family, my religion. And you told me yours was better. Somehow you coerced me. I accepted finally. And my father would tell me after World War II, he was a veteran of that war, he told me, son, this white man is incredible. Maybe God created him differently. And I said, why? He said the way he has established infrastructure, the way he has organized his own society. We visited their country. It is in a different way. I cannot agree any better than when the diplomat said, the fellow who is a representative of European Commission spoke and mentioned the words given to us yesterday and today, that we created a garden out of Europe. And the rest is a jungle. We must now prevent them and help them so that they cannot. And I asked them, we climbed the hill of civilization. And now we are at the plateau. We are checking for you and you are nowhere. We found an empty church. We found empty homes. We found only elderly people worshiping in that church. We looked for your children and they are nowhere. We looked at the other side of the hill of the civilization and we found your people are spiraling down the hill. And we are asking ourselves, should we follow you? Should we continue? Ladies and gentlemen, we are trying to ask ourselves, are we on the right direction now? Are we surviving? One of the greatest impact of that, as it impacted on us in Africa, is that we began to exercise dependency syndrome. And if we must stand on our feet, I wish to mention the following in brief. For any empire, any regime to stand, it requires the following. Number one, solidarity of purpose. For us to be serious and make sure that we are protecting our children, our families, we are enhancing the production of food, We must listen, and I listened to the president of this great country yesterday very keenly when he said, we are not only going to protect families because we intend to do that, we must make sure that the system around family, which is government, must not be weakened. It must be strengthened. You cannot save yourself if your umbrella on an external authority and influence to be able to stand. Madam Chair, if you can watch the progress in history over the last 40 years, you will discover that there is a very serious campaign against government and authority, statecraft. And there is a serious promotion of non-governmental actors to be the basic influence of humanity. That is why, if you look at now the continent we relied on, and that's why we are shaking, is that it is being led, government is being led by older generation, and I don't know, are being manipulated and guided by the non-government actors. These are the ones who are influencing great civic education carriers in the world. And that is why, over the period you mentioned some few minutes ago, Madam, that they are saying even funding to countries in Africa will no longer go through government, but through specific and targeted projects. Africa, if you want the spirit of time to reward your efforts, can we all rise up and have a renaissance of a solidarity of purpose, where we are aware and can identify and accept shared interest, objectives, and standards for our people? We are members of parliament. This conference is led by us. We are discussing. We think there is someone else, a big boy somewhere, who is supposed to give us instruction on what to do. If we know the problem of our people, sovereignty is in our hands. We are the legislators. We can change our countries. We can enhance our independence. We can make our nations stand. Can we have solidarity of purpose? The second thing that has made regimes to stand or collapse is what you call a sound fiscal policy. It is about how we raise finances, how we resource our budgeting in our country. The question is, Madam Chair, are we able as a continent, within the reach of our own resources, are we able to fund our fiscal policy? Are we? This is the question we need to ask. And surprisingly, the continent of Africa has the capacity to support its fiscal policy framework in the country and sustain their budget. Please give us a break. You can do it. You don't need anyone else. We got enough oil. We got enough minerals. We have enough brains. We have enough resilience. Come on, somebody told me the other day, I don't know, he was making a joke about COVID-19. And he said some scientists were seated in a little dark room, hidden somewhere, and they were projecting that 3 months, 4 months into COVID, Africa would have lost millions and millions of people to death. And I asked him, then what is the surprise? He said, perhaps these Africans are walking on foot and they keep on inhaling dust everywhere, that when COVID virus entered into their lungs, they got much mud on it and it was sliding before it could get the membranes of the skin, of the inner part of the lungs. Let me tell you, God has given us resilience. Are you listening to me? I'm speaking as a politician. Allow me that. I know my title can betray me, that you're a bishop. Please, I know that. But now I'm speaking as a politician because this is a political forum. Isn't it? Yes, it is. And I'm talking to you. We must make sure that we are in control in our fiscal policy for our country. Can we make our resources serve our people? So unity of purpose must let us agree to forget all our differences and see Africa and African state as a very important institution in the survival of our people. And forget our differences, our tribal tax. Let us appreciate you belong to your tribe, I belong to my tribe, but we belong to Africa, and we belong to one generation that we must divine where our people will go and support funding for our country. That will meet all that we require. Finally, Madam Chair, because I wish we had enough, I think we'll build for a workshop so that we can do proper analysis on some of these things. I would conclude that we should beware that we should not follow a civilization when it is on its decline. Don't follow my culture in its lowest form. Follow my culture and imitate when I'm on the top. And that is why we have wars and conflict that is not ending. The wars being fought in Africa are not our wars. My brother from Congo, the war you are fighting is not your war. It isn't your war. It is planned elsewhere. It's not our wars. It is because of the minerals that we have, the oils that we have, the resources. You will be a superpower, and they are denying you that future by making you a fighter of your own people. We need to resolve. You don't need to have conferences in Berlin, in UN, in other countries. Come on, it is enough for us to meet in Kampala here, and we finish the whole story. We go back and build our continent, Africa. Ethiopia was not colonized by any power. Menelik II was one of the greatest archers in history. He expanded the kingdom. He resisted the Italian using his own archery. He maintained the country, but he could not have peace to date. They are not fighting their war. They are fighting somebody else's war. I'm speaking as a son of a military officer, and I'm requesting and calling upon the continent of Africa, rise up and take up the control of your own country and all continent and take charge. The collapse of any country is demonstrated by internal decay, internal rot, corruption, lack of moral foundation. We are being told, Madam Chair, why these things are coming in, that let us adopt and standards. Let us go back and maintain and pay attention in our policies of government on the preservation of humanity. Let us talk about preservation, self-preservation. We don't need to manufacture human beings, but we need human beings to reproduce themselves. Let us not plan for cloning. Let us plan for reproducing them through reproductive system that God gave it to us. Let us not plan. Yes, we appreciate adoption. Adoption was there even amongst Africans, but they were giving adoption to auntie who never had children. They gave a child from brother or from another family to adopt it. But not a choice of not getting married naturally, and you go and pair up with another man, and you know you cannot produce anything, and you want to adopt children from people who can produce it. What the hell? If you don't like a cow, then refuse taking the milk. Why do you hate to have the cow? I am a pastoralist, and you don't want the cow, and you want the milk from the same cow. Come on, my friend, go and get married to a woman, and you woman go get married to a man and reproduce children like our forefathers did. I told you I am a politician today. Allow me to end with this quote. In all human societies, the family is the primary social unit. And it is older than all governments and older than all religions. It is the center and the circumference of human survival. Therefore, children are born and nurtured in the family until such time as they grow into adults and they begin to be the adults of the next generation. Long live Africa. May God reward your efforts. And thank you for the speakers who've come as heads of delegations from their various countries. Madam Chair, as Kenya delegation, we will support the charter as a product of the process that has taken place for the last 3 years moving forward. You have a champion in us, and we will do what it can and what we can to make sure that the charter is understood. We still emphasize we need to support Uganda as a country which has given their resources, their manpower. They have given us opportunity to share in this. We need to be ready by all other countries to organize not only continental but also regional sensitization for our own governments and our own sons and daughters in various professions, and avoid what I heard yesterday, that this generation will also be surprised and be strangers to their own identity. That is very serious comment, and we need to do it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Lovely. Sorry for the noise.
Honorable members, next to take the floor is Chargé d'Affaires from...
So it means diplomats are supposed to be restrained. In my understanding, is never absolute and never homogeneous. Under the current international conditions, it means that sovereignty has different aspects. And having looked at the agenda of this conference, I'm very satisfied that you are going to have a look at these different aspects thoroughly. Certainly, political sovereignty, enshrined in the relevant document of the UN, economic sovereignty, food security, as it was mentioned today a couple of times, water sovereignty, the sovereignty of values, culture, family, and so on and so forth. But all these aspects make up a whole, which is sovereignty. But it is not homogeneous. Second, values. Values have layers, like an onion or a cabbage. Since we all belong to the same species, Homo sapiens, we cannot deny, yes, there are general human values, again enshrined in the relevant documents of the United Nations. Nevertheless, in the other layer of values, for example, we in Europe talk about European values. If you talk to European politicians or diplomats or read documents from the European Union, European values come up very frequently. And certainly African values are very relevant. Asian values. It doesn't mean that these values were rather limited. Raising a child in Hungary meant a heavy financial burden and not a real fulfillment of the dreams of a family. So the task of the government was to enable people having more children. So the most effective policy tools in this respect can be based on three pillars. First, providing adequate housing. Second, financial stability on the level of the family, and promoting what we call work-life balance. So providing adequate housing. You know that in a great many countries in the world, there is a so-called housing crisis. It is more and more difficult to get a house of your own, to get a flat of your own, even to get a rent at sustainable prices. So the availability of sufficient housing is essential from the point of view of family planning. So the Hungarian government introduced rather interesting measures I would like to draw your attention to. First, that is a so-called family subsidy, family housing subsidy. Family housing subsidy means it is a non-refundable state subsidy for families raising at least one child or to raise at least one child when buying a new or pre-owned house or flat. During the last 8 years, the Hungarian budget allocated 2 billion euros, actually it is 2.2 billion US dollars, for such family subsidy, housing subsidy programs. And the second aspect is what we call rural family housing subsidy. Because nuclear family is connected to urbanization. The generation of my parents, for example, left their grandparents who stayed in the countryside, and they formed nuclear families. I have one son, frankly, and he is not supposed to go back to the country, but it is very, both in Uganda and in Hungary, in spite of the different conditions. So that is a subsidy program. Was called into being for those young persons who decide to stay in and raise a family there. It is non-refundable state support, subsidized loans, and tax refund support. And the second aspect I wanted to talk about is providing financial stability. In Europe, as in Hungary, the typical family pattern is that both the husband and the wife work, so they are engaged. Once they have a child or prepare to have a child, this decision might entail loss of income. In order to remedy that situation, the Hungarian government provides baby expecting subsidy, family tax benefits, and interest-free general purpose loan at the amount